Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
We are live, and welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast. This is episode number 150, and I'm your host, Funk Roberts. I'm a former professional athlete turned master metabolic trainer, certified hormone and testosterone expert, and a health and fitness guru for men over 40, 50, 60, and beyond. And I'm your host, and this podcast is dedicated to you guys over the age of 40, where we talk about ways to naturally increase testosterone. We talk about mindset strategies, training and workouts, nutrition, recovery, sleep, supplementation, health, everything that you need to help you become the best man you can be. And today, we're going to talk about diabetes. In fact, we're going to talk about how to reverse diabetes. I want you to understand it. I want you to manage it, and I want you to know how that you can reverse it. And this podcast episode is actually from a coaching call that we had. One of the things that has happened to me over the last couple of months is that my father, who's 85 years old, he was diagnosed with diabetes. Now, 100% he's had diabetes for a longer period of time, but this diagnosis happened based on an incident, a couple of incidents that happened with him. I'm not going to go into details because you'll hear about that in the podcast episode. But I wanted to do this episode because one of the things that I had to do was kind of step up and help my father and mother both manage this, right? So, when he went into the hospital after the episode, his levels were at like 41. Okay. His blood sugar levels are at 41, which is insanely high. It's supposed to be between like 4 and 7. And so, with the help of the doctors in the hospital, we got it down to about 20. And then, we were sent home, and, now we have to kind of manage this, right? You have the one touch, you got to take his, prick the finger and take the blood. And, but not just that, because we didn't have any real guidance at this point. I had to step up to the plate because I actually have a program that is specifically for men who have type 2 or pre-diabetes. It's called the Diabetes Solution. I partnered with my boy Igor to create this many years ago, and many men have gone through this diabetes program and reversed their diabetes. And so I dove right into exactly what we created. I dove into the nutrition portion of it really heavily, and sending my mom information on the foods that he should be eating, the foods that he needs to stay away from. Of course, there's also training, but we didn't get into that because we just wanted to at least get that first step of nutrition, eating more, because my father is not obese. He's not an obese diabetic. In fact, he's probably about 100 pounds and he's 6 foot. So right away, we got to action, right? This probably happened July 1st of 2024. July 2nd, I'm just looking at some of the numbers here. He went from 20, and then, so 20 when we got home on the 1st, the second we got it down to 17. And then, I think a couple of days later we got it down to 14. And I don't live with my parents. So, I had to send my mother all this information. I go weekly to cook and prepare meals. But as he started to eat in the way he should be eating, it went from 14 to 13 to 8.2 to 5.4. So right now, as we are talking right now, and this has been over a few weeks, he has now been, in that 4 to 7 zone. So does he have diabetes? Yes, I'm sure he still has some of the things, but it can be reversed, right? Like literally, if he keeps eating the way he's eating and starts exercising or moving a little bit more, this is going to be reversed. But there were some things that happen, because when you do have diabetes, man, what you're going to learn, this is something you do not want to take for granted, because you'll lose limbs, you'll lose eyesight. Like my father's probably lost his eyesight on the left eye due to this, not taking care of it. Not knowing, but also not taking care. So in this episode, if you know somebody who has type 2 or pre-diabetic, or you are type 2 or prediabetes, right? You can reverse it. Just use our program. Go to over40shred.com/diabetes. That's over40shred, over the number 40 and shred.com/diabetes. That's going to take you to the program, this exact program I'm using right now with my own father to help him with reversing diabetes. The exact same program that most men are using in my program who have diabetes or had it. Now they don't. So they just, my whole over 40 alpha program will help you specifically, but there are a few things that you need to manage when it comes to nutrition for type 2 and pre-diabetes. And I'm telling you guys, it is so important that you handle this today. So right now, go to over40shred.com/diabetes. Get that program. It's got follow along workouts. I've got workouts for you. We've got nutrition. We've got coaching. Everything you need is in that program. And you will start reversing your diabetes. Believe me, it will happen. So with that, I'm going to leave you now to remember this is a coaching call. So enjoy this this podcast episode. You get an inside glimpse of what some of our coaching calls are all about in the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood program. But I really want to dedicate to those of you who either have type 2 diabetes, have pre-diabetes, or you know somebody in your family with it so that you can also help them to reverse by understanding and managing diabetes. So as I'm going to leave you, enjoy the podcast. Get it done. Let's talk about diabetes, my brothers. Let's talk about diabetes. Today, I want to talk about that, how to understand it, how to manage it, and in turn, how to reverse diabetes. What prompted me to talk about this is my father on June 30th, I got a call from my mother, and she said, I need you to come here right now because we got to get your dad to the hospital. He's fallen. The whole I fall and I can't get up. There's a second time that he fell and kind of like he can't get up off the ground, and my mom had to help him. But my mom, trying to get somebody's dead weight up because he can't get up. So now you're trying to pull this dead weight from one to the bathroom to the room. My parents live in this big house too, so that doesn't help either. Getting that call and me jumping into action, again, being a son, and again, if at our age, a lot of us who still have their parents, this is going to be something probably as your parents get older, that is another thing that we have to actually be ready for, right? Like if you have kids, you obviously have to be able to, be there for your kids. But imagine if you have parents who are getting older, and now you have to take care of the parents who took care of you when you were younger. That's another alpha trait, right? That's why we have to be as healthy as we can. Because if I wasn't healthy, or I was injured, or I couldn't do anything, and my mom called me and wanted me to drive an hour, because my parents live about an hour and 20 minutes away, I wouldn't be able to do it. How am I going to when you tell my mom to call the hospital, call the 911? And then what does she do? Because she doesn't know what the hell to do, right? She wants to lean on her family, wants to lean on her son. And that's where we come in. So that's just a side note of why it's very important that we stay as healthy as we possibly can. And don't think that I can handle it, because it'll hit you when you don't expect it, specifically if you're not healthy or living a healthy lifestyle. So when she called me, I jumped into action, jumped into the car, and drove to where my parents live. My mom was there. My dad, he was barely coherent, called the 911, got him to the hospital, and with all the blood work, etc., his blood sugar levels were at 41. Now, if you don't know, so you're going to learn about diabetes today and about blood sugar, but 41, when we went in there and they said it was 41, they were, the doctor was like, I don't know how this guy's even here right now, man. Like, I don't even know, because my father's 85. And again, I don't live with my parents. So I see my mom every day through FaceTime, because we FaceTime, but I don't live with my parents. So I don't know exactly what's going on in that house. I don't know exactly what's happening, right? I go see my parents, and, my dad's dressed, and, he's kind of he's coherent when I go see him, but when I went to see him and we brought him, he was I mean, I think he wore 100. I think he was 100 pounds or something. Like my dad's taller than I am. Right. And so it was like, oh, like, and the reality starts to kick in. It's like, oh man, so he couldn't see through one eye. It was very blurry and we didn't know what was happening. Right. But what we did, but when we found out that, his blood sugar levels were at 41, insulin, blood sugar, what have you, that, and they were very, very, very concerned. And of course they started the process in the hospital of bringing that down, doing blood work, doing all the tests and all the things that go with it. And in the end, we were able to take him home. And when we got home, he was at about 21 millimoles per liter. So that's the reading that we have been using for testing his blood sugar. And that's extremely high. Because generally you should be 4 to 6, right? I guess everyone's going to say something different, but when it comes to millimoles per liter, you want to be in the 4 to 6. That's normal. So anything higher than that, you're either pre-diabetic or you're diabetic, type 2 diabetic. And then if it's even higher than that, then we've got problems. And so he was still in the we got problems. So what I ended up doing was I went in, I literally went to my program, went to our program. I was just like, okay, let me go to our program. I've got something that I can use in the interim while we wait for, going back to the doctor who's managing this, all of the things that happen after, you get out of the hospital because you're in emergency. And I dove into action, and I just went into our program. And, basically that's July 1st. So I stayed with them for about 3 to 4 days. I don't know if you guys remember that. I stayed with them for 3 to 4 days. And we got it down to about 14.4 by the time I left. And then the next time I came, because now I go every week. And I prepare the food. I cook food based on the diabetes solution, based on my knowledge of how to reverse, manage. Well, I don't think managing. I think reversing. I don't care to manage it. I want to reverse it. So, but at this point, I go every week. I prepare food. My mom manages what happens in the house, but I'm there to prepare. We talk every day and, we just go through things. So then we got it down to 13.8. And the last time I went, which was last week, and this was a post-meal reading of 8.2. So thinking of going from 41 to 8.2 is a huge step, right? It's a massive step. It's a very effective strategy that we're using. And this is without the physical activity because my father's still kind of reluctant to even go for a walk, but we got a baby step. But the nutrition piece is what I want to talk about today because the nutrition piece has been the key element to bringing it down to 8.2. And so now if you think about it, 8.2 really and truly is almost in a low pre-diabetes to normal. It's still high, but 8.2 is much better than 41. And 8.2 is, as you heard me go through all of the readings over the past, month, it's coming down. And my mother gives me the updates. I talk to him every day and definitely much better than he was before, but there's still work to be done, right? There's still work to be done, but it's significant improvement. And so knowing that there's a lot of people in this, specifically men, we are again in a epidemic of obesity, an epidemic of type 2 diabetes, and the ramifications that come with people who have type 2 diabetes and just you know, I don't know. Again, I'm not deep into this, but also do know quite a few people who have type 2 diabetes, friends, family, and it just seems that, and what frustrates me is that they have type 2 diabetes, they have whatever the reading patch or whatever the doctors give them, so that they can take blood or what have you, but they still live the same lifestyle that got them into getting diabetes. And which to me makes no sense. Even if you have prescription drugs, which you do not want to be on, you do not want to be on prescription pills. You don't. That's not, this is not a debatable thing, right? We want to do everything we can to get off of those, right? So how do we get off of those? Well, we have to change the behavior. So for me and the crofter, which is my crofter, I call him the crofter, it's behavioral change. But what frustrates me is seeing people who are wearing the little patch or whatever it is, but still eating the same way, eating the same type of foods, not eating the same type of foods. Because there is things you need to understand when it comes to nutrition, and pre-diabetes or diabetes. Because again, there's a lot of guys who have pre-diabetes, a lot of people, men who have diabetes, and they use that as a crutch. They use that as an excuse. I'm diabetic. They almost like use it as a badge. And I'm not just saying this like, it's just like, okay, well, what are you doing about it? Oh, I take this prescription and that's it. Like, there's nothing really else. Still eating sugar, still putting big globs of sugar in their coffee, still eating like processed foods, like still doing the things that got them to where they are, and still wondering why this diabetes, or they can't lose the weight or whatever it is. Because my father's not overweight, so he has type 2 diabetes, but he's 100 pounds. I just told you guys that. He's not 300 pounds. He's 100 pounds, and he's taller than I am. I'm 5'11". I think he's 6 foot. So it's not even about the weight portion of it. It's about the health portion of it. So what is type 2 diabetes? So what is it? It's basically mostly referred to as adult onset diabetes, right? It's a chronic condition, and it affects millions and millions of people worldwide. And I'm Canadian, and I think I live in the second unhealthiest country in the world. If you live in the US, you're leading the charge. Not even a question. The unhealthiest country on the planet. 38 million Americans have diabetes. 90 to 95 of those diabetes is type 2, because type 1, that's a different type of diabetes. Usually people get that when they're younger, and that's a different one. We're talking the one that has been caused by lifestyle. Some people say genetics, but I fight against that. I'll tell you why in a second. But just thinking about the fact that, and it doesn't surprise me, because again, as we go through this, there'll be some understanding. But and not only is type 2 diabetes prevalent in adults in the US, I'm going to just say North America and worldwide, but not generally everywhere in the world. But children are now getting it more and more. The increase is 5% every single year. And there's another reason about that as well. So, and type 2 diabetes, basically the body either doesn't make enough insulin or doesn't use insulin as it's supposed to. So as a result, there's glucose that builds up into the bloodstream, and your body's not able to function the way it's supposed to. And yes, it develops due to a combination of genetics. But again, I fight the genetic thing. I'm sure there's going to be scientists and so forth who may, well, here's the proof. But I think it's not about genetics. It's more about, if you've come from a family who everyone who's had diabetes from three generations, or no, I wouldn't even say three generations, because this is not something that's been around for a long time. It's only been around since, I don't know, 70, 80 years. It hasn't been diabetes, and the epidemic that it is has not been around for that long. This is something that's only happened in the last, I don't know, 70, 80 years. I mean, not even that. I'm just trying to figure out the time. Trying to figure out the timing off the top of my head, but it hasn't been there for a long time. It's generally happened since the introduction of one main ingredient into our diet. So, and then again, there's other things, but we'll go into that for a second. But when I think about genetics and I think about diabetes, I think of it in a different way. I think that like if you come from a family of people who have been diabetic, maybe they're obese, right? There's like a obesity in your family. And that obesity and diabetes is due to the unhealthy lifestyle. Well, if you're born into that, let's say your grandparents and then your parents. So your grandparents, they've only been brought up on the type of food that their parents, and the lifestyle that their parents have. So if it's been unhealthy and you've been eating that food, then of course, when you are born, your parents are only going to feed you the foods that they are going to feed you. And that's how it goes down through the generations. Just the lifestyle. If I grow up in a place where my parents are obese and all they eat is processed foods, whatever, and that could be due to many things. I'm not saying that it's right, or it could be due to many, many factors, but I'm just saying on this genetic portion, a lot of times it's the behavior of the family, the type of foods, the type of, you know what I mean? That just gets passed down. So that can be stopped very easily. Somebody in the generation just stops it and says, no, we ain't eating like that anymore. That's it. That's you. You're the one that does that, if that's been part of things. But mostly it's lifestyle, right? Sedentary lifestyle, poor diet. Age has something to do with it as well. As we get older, I'm telling you, sarcopenia, our testosterone levels decrease. That plays a part if we're not doing the things that are going to keep us healthy. Of course, the family history, which again, for me, the family history, anyway, we just talked about that. So over time, those high blood sugar levels will lead to serious health problems, heart disease, stroke, blindness. Like my father can't barely see out of his left eye, right? He has to do this now. And that's been for a few months. My mom told me that's been for a few months. Amputation. Well, I've also talked about, we have, family member in our family who lost her leg and then died, I don't know, about a month later due to diabetes, kidney disease. Like, this is not things that, oh, well, maybe it won't happen. No, this is what happens when you don't take control of your lifestyle. So let's go into what diabetes is. Like what we talked about what diabetes is, but now let's go into kind of like more about the process. So it's more to do with the blood glucose, right? So what is blood glucose? Blood glucose is known as blood sugar, right? And it's the main sugar in your blood and the body's primary energy source. So it comes from the foods you eat. Okay, so the foods that you eat, of course, are made up of protein, carbs, and fats, right? So proteins, carbs, which are broken up into, complex and simple carbs, vegetables, fruits are part of that, grains, all in the carb family, and then fats. So each macronutrient has a different effect on your blood sugar levels. So carbs, for example, are broken down into glucose and causes blood sugar levels to rise rapidly. Right. In contrast, protein and fats tend to have a slower effect. Right. Pro tip, that's why we do balanced plate meals. It'll come into effect later. One of the reasons why we do balanced plate meals in this program. So what we eat will directly have a role in how our blood sugar levels are affected, right? It's not just about what you eat. It's also about how you eat. Okay, so it's not just about what you eat. It's about how you eat. One of the things that I told my mom to tell my father when he's eating, there's a certain way you need to eat and why we eat certain foods in order to get that blood sugar level down. Now, we need to use glucose for energy. Our body uses glucose for energy. Our bodies need insulin. And insulin's a hormone produced by the pancreas, and that helps move glucose from the blood into the cells. And if your body does not produce enough insulin, or your cells are not sensitive to insulin, then your blood glucose levels can rise too high. And that's known as hyperglycemic. Okay, so if you're hyperglycemic, that's what's happening. There's something going on with your insulin, and your body's not producing enough insulin. Now, that's the hyperglycemic, but it is also a concern if your blood sugar levels drop too low. That's known as hypoglycemia. Okay, so that can occur when you miss foods, when you're skipping meals, or you're not eating enough. Okay, so skipping meals, not eating enough, those are two ways you can become hypoglycemic. So it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Like, it's important to have your blood, it's important you keep your blood sugar levels just right. Not too much, not too high, not too low, right? Got to keep it just right. So high blood glucose levels, if they're always high, then that's going to lead to diabetes. And again, like we talked about, heart disease, strokes, blindness, kidney disease, all of these things. And low blood glucose levels usually lead to like dizziness, and you're confused and fainting and sometimes even death. So it's very, very important that blood sugar, which is essential for your body's functioning, it just affects everything from your energy levels to your mood to your overall health. So, if you think about that's how important our blood sugar levels are. That's why they're so crucial, and that's why it's crucial to control them, because it affects so much of what we're doing on our everyday life, right? As I mentioned, from our energy levels, right, our mood, and our overall health. We know what happens sometimes when you haven't eaten, or your blood sugar levels are down, and you feel faint, and you just have no energy, and then you start getting crabby, and and maybe you don't even realize what's happening. This is aside from the diabetes. This is just normal. So what controls your blood sugar? Well, the body works very hard. It's a very complex system that maintains steady blood sugar levels, right? So glucose regulation is a complex process. It involves a lot of different organs. It involves different hormones. It involves a lot of cellular mechanisms. The two main hormones, though, is insulin and glucagon. Okay, those are both produced in the pancreas. So those are the two main hormones. But as I mentioned before, it's very complex. Like, it starts with the glucose intake, right? So managing blood sugar levels start when you eat. So carbs and most proteins are broken down in the digestive system, and it's broken down into glucose, which is absorbed in the bloodstream. And after you eat, that's when your sugar levels rise. So your blood sugar levels are going to rise after you eat, but the level of it will depend. But when the blood sugar rises, the pancreas will start to release insulin into the bloodstream. And remember, that's the hormone that acts like a key. It unlocks the doors to the cells and allows glucose to enter and do what it needs to do. And when you have insulin, then cells throughout the body, especially muscles and fat cells, activate their glucose transporters called GLUT4. And they take in the glucose from the bloodstream. And then the cells in your body and glucose can be used for energy or stored for later. So again, when there's insulin in the body, then specifically through muscle, so you heard muscle, so that's another main reason why we need to build muscle, right? That's part of the reversing diabetes is building muscle. You got to build muscle. But all of this muscle, fat cells, they'll activate GLUT4, taking that glucose from the bloodstream, and then we can use that for energy. Now there's glycogen storage, right? So insulin also facilitates the storage of excess glucose, because remember, there's going to be excess glucose, and that's the form of glycogen. And this occurs when blood sugar levels are too high. And that prompts insulin to drive the conversion of glucose into glycogen for storage in the livers and muscles. This stored glycogen will be readily available when we need it, right? So when we need that glycogen, we need the glycogen, it'll be readily available because it's stored, readily available for energy. Sometimes when I say to you guys, after a hard workout, like, how when I say, you know what, the reason why I tell you guys to eat after, and specifically carbs, right? Specifically carbs after a workout, no matter what, whether it's later on in the evening or whenever. And I tell you because your glycogen stores have been depleted, right? That storage that your body was using for your workout, because your body uses glycogen during your workouts, right? So you're working out, our type of workouts, metabolic training, even though it's short, it's still the intensity of it, moving from one exercise to another. By the end of that workout, our glycogen levels are done, right? They're done. So now your body is like, okay, it's waiting for you to replenish the glycogen. It's waiting for those carbs, because your body's in the perfect position to take the glycogen that it's going to get from the carbs and get it to where it needs to go. Keep that metabolism going. And everything else can do its part. Protein can be used for the metabolic processes. Protein can be used for, starting that process of your muscle recovery and muscle, because, muscle starts to build and during the recovery, but it needs food, it needs water, it needs sleep. But that process, the protein gets used, healthy fats get used the way they need to get used. All of the micronutrients that you get, the vitamins and minerals that you get from the vegetables or fruits that you eat after your meal, gets to where the body needs, right? Vitamins, minerals, all of these are very important aspects of a post-workout meal. And of course, those carbs will replenish the glycogen stores. And now your body can continue to store what it needs, but then release all of that insulin and get things moving, continuously burning. But when you haven't eaten for a while, your blood sugar levels start to drop. Your pancreas senses this, and then it releases glucagon, which is that hormone that has the opposite effect of insulin. So insulin brings glucose into the cells. Glucagon releases it back into your bloodstream by telling the liver to break down all of that stored glycogen, which is called glycogenolysis. And glucagon also helps to convert amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, and glycerol into glucose in a process called glucogenesis. Sorry for the word. So then the kidneys also play a role in blood sugar regulation, because they can reabsorb glucose from the urine back into your bloodstream. And if blood sugar levels drop too low, this process doesn't happen. So the reason why I went through all of that on a high level is because you can tell this is a very complex mechanism, right? To control glucose in your, it's very complex, but the takeaway is very simple. Your body is constantly working to keep your blood sugar levels at a normal range. But in order to do that, you need to help the process with a healthy lifestyle. Workouts, physical activity, nutrition, stress management, which is why I talked about the breath work, sleep. All of this plays a very crucial role in controlling and keeping your blood sugar levels healthy. So when you lead a healthy lifestyle, right, the 6 pillars of health, mindset, right, understanding that okay, this is my new lifestyle. This is my why. And this is how I'm going to stay disciplined and focused and consistent in my overall health. Sleep, 7 to 9 hours sleep, not 6 hours, not 5 hours, not 4 hours, and not just 7 hours, but 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Recovery, both physical so that you don't get injured, and mental to manage stress, chronic stress. Why we have meditation, breath work, gratitude journaling, going to talk to someone about some type of trauma that you haven't dealt with in the past that's causing you to continue to sabotage your health. I said sleep. Nutrition, like 3 balanced plate meal every single day, making sure you get enough protein. So getting an extra protein shake to get that protein in if you need it. Workouts, 3 to 4 times a week, metabolic workouts. Like that's how you help your body control your blood sugar levels, keeping them healthy. Because when your blood sugar levels are high, that sends an alarm to the body. And then all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose. A lot of toxic stuff happens in your body. The pancreas releases insulin to the low blood sugar levels immediately. Glucose that lingers in the bloodstream becomes toxic, and it rapidly damages all the blood vessels. Not all, but damages blood vessels. It damages nerves. It plays havoc on other tissues in your body. And with that, in fact, glucose is so damaging to our bodies that we've actually evolved to try to eliminate it as quickly as possible. That's how damaging it can be when it's not being used in the right way. So we just need to we just need to keep our glucose and our insulin right. We want to be insulin sensitive, not insulin resistant. So we need to focus on living that healthy lifestyle. And you can go to episode number 142 in the Over 40 Alpha podcast. I had Dr. Morgan Nolte on that podcast, and we talked about reversing insulin resistance. So you can talk if you have diabetes or type 2 diabetes or anything. You should be listening to that episode 142. So what are some symptoms of type 2 diabetes? Well, we know 100%, because we live in, I mean, not everybody, but I'm just saying, I live in Canada. And if you live in the US, obesity is running rampant. And that's the number one sign of diabetes, obesity, because it increases insulin resistance. So it's harder for your body to maintain normal blood sugar levels. If you're always thirsty or you pee a lot, that's of course, the peeing a lot could mean you have, prostate issues, but it's also a symptom of type 2 diabetes. Because your excess sugar in the bloodstream pulls fluid from your tissues. So you're always thirsty, and that leads to more frequent urination. So like there's 2 types of frequent urination. One, if you're like me and you drink 5 of these a day, that's a reason. But if you don't drink a gallon a day of water and you're still peeing all the time, there's an issue there. Or if you're always thirsty or you're always dry, if you're hungry all the time, because your hunger increases all the time. You're always hungry, because without insulin to move sugar into your cells or your muscles or your organs, that depletes your energy, and that triggers intense hunger. It triggers the hormone that tells your brain that you're hungry all the time. And then fatigue, right? Because here you can see it. If you're always hungry and always eating, you start to get tired all the time, right? Because there's not enough access to sugar for energy. So people with diabetes are always tired, which makes it very difficult for them to go for walks, to exercise. They don't have the energy. But when you don't exercise, then what happens? You just get more obese. Your body holds on to more fat. And plus, when we reach the age of 35, sarcopenia kicks in. So less muscle, right? You're going to have more fat if you have less muscle. It's just that simple. Muscle is metabolic. It's a metabolic organ. It's a vital organ. And it allows us to burn fat. It allows us to use insulin in a way that helps us regulate it. The more muscle we have. Blurred vision. I just talked about my father can't see out of his blurred, his right eye or left eye. One of the left eye is blurry. Because when you have high blood sugar levels, it pulls fluid from the lenses of your eyes, which makes it very difficult to focus. My dad always does this all the time. And then again, your immune system, the ability to heal, the ability to resist infections. Like, I mean, we 100% saw the effects of obesity and diabetes when we had the pandemic. One of the comorbidities right there. Right? Some people with type 2 diabetes have patches of dark skin. Or they have like velvety skin in their folds and their creases, usually in the arm and on the neck. And again, but on the flip side, you can get unintended weight loss, like my dad, right? Like he's not obese; he's totally the opposite, right? But he doesn't eat. Like one of the things that we have to do is the nutrition part, which again we'll talk about it. But then you get the numbing and the tingling in your hands and your fingers. It's because the excess sugar we talked about before damages the nerves, right? And when your nerves are damaged, you get that tingling and numbness in your hands and your feet, right? And a lot of times people are just like, oh, I don't know, maybe it's this, or my eyes, oh, maybe it's my cataract, or like there's always the there's always the propensity to not accept that it's the diabetes probably leading to a lot of these things. When you have a lot of these symptoms, it's always something else. And then, you know what I mean? It's always something else. But when you think about it, there's a way for us to reverse that and get us healthy. And men over 40 are at very high risk of this, right? Age, I talked about the age bit, but also our body's ability to process sugar starts to diminish as we get older. The decrease in physical activity. A lot of guys came into this program because they didn't know what type of workouts to do, or maybe they were doing the wrong workouts, or maybe they just haven't worked out in a long time. And that contributes to weight gain. And that increases the risk of diabetes. Just general weight gain. You know, the dad bod used to be cool. Remember the dad bod? Remember how cool that was? That's literally killing us. It's insane. It's visceral fat. That's what that is. The fat around the organs that kill us. That's what a dad bod is. High estrogen, visceral fat around our organs. Like, that's not cool, man. Not cool to embrace that. And it's not right. It's not what we should be doing. But again, weight gain, metabolism slows down, and the metabolism doesn't just slow down because we're 40. Metabolism slows down because, you know, we haven't been working out the way we used to. We've been eating like shit. Horrible. Hormonal changes. So just the hormonal changes can lead to more, fat distribution, to an increase in insulin sensitivity when our testosterone levels decrease, which is why I make such a bold and I'm always asking you guys to focus on naturally increasing your testosterone levels. Get your testosterone levels checked every 3 to 6 months. We're at that point right now. Next week, I'll be sending you links to get your testosterone levels checked. And again, if there is a family history of diabetes, you're going to have an increased risk. So these are some of the things that put us at risk. But here's the thing. There's 3 major mistakes that most people make when it comes to treating or when it comes to diabetes. 3 huge mistakes. One of those mistakes is yellow cooking oils, right? It's a deadly blood sugar mistake, right? If you go into your kitchen right now and you look at the oils in your kitchen, like, do you see vegetable oil? Do you see sunflower oil? Do you see soybean oil? Do you see corn oil? Do you see canola oil? Do you see palm oil? Do you see grapeseed oil? Do you see peanut oil? These are poisonous. They turn off our body's ability to burn sugar, literally. Yellow vegetable oils are so poisonous that they're actually banned in 19 European countries. Europe's got this. They figured this out before us. Countries in Europe are like, no, do not let yellow vegetable oils into our country. We're not using it here. We want to actually live. We want our citizens to live longer. And that's all because of the way they make that oil. Like the process to make it involves washing the oils with toxic chemicals. Like there's something called caustic lye and hexane. They superheat it to try to remove it smells like shit. Literally, when they're making it. So they got to superheat it to remove all that. And the oils are made from waste, from byproducts, from garbage. Like that's what we're cooking with. And you see that's one of the main reasons why you do not have fast food. You do not eat fast food. You're literally eating that. When you go to a fast food cookout, yeah, Rolando got it right there. 99% use vegetable, 100%, they have to, because it's cheap. And so the big food companies that turn their trash into oil sell it to us. So they're selling trash and shit, not literally, but they're literally saying, "Hey, I'm going to sell you this bottle of shit that's going to kill you. You want to buy it? Want to buy it? Because it's going to kill you, and it's poisonous." And, we just want to sell it to you. It's brutal. And just like Rolando said, pretty much every restaurant cooks with that. Now, I always say, it's the fast food joints, man. The fast food joints. Because it's cheap to make. And this is not something that's been around forever. In the early 1940s, most people cooked with butter or beef tallow. Or beef, like they weren't cooking with, there was no vegetable oil like that. And basically, if you look at pictures back in the day, if you look at old pictures, like from the 40s and 20s and 30s, you barely saw obese people. And diabetes was pretty much non-existent. Like if you look at those old school pictures, people at the beach, they're all skinny. But when vegetable oils hit the food supply, after the 40s, 50s, that's when obesity started to rise, man. Went from 1.2 to 39%. 2 out of every 5 Americans are obese. That's not cool, man. That's not cool. Just telling you guys right now, that's not cool. That's not a freaking. That's not a thing that we hang our flag on. Either 136 million Americans are either diabetic or pre-diabetic. So there's a big problem with the nutrition here for sure. Right? Again, it just poisons our body's sugar pathways and the ability to use it the way we need to use it. So that's one mistake is using those, or eating fast food, or eating foods at the what do you call it? At lunchtime you go down to the cafeteria or whatever and think, oh, let me order this. Oh, I'm at this place in the cafeteria. It's called Joe's Healthy Eating. And Joe's Healthy Eating, he cooks the foods in the back, but it's supposed to be healthy because it's Joe's Healthy Eating. Not you, Joe Cohen, but just Joe's Healthy Eating. And sure, we've got this, we got, non-fat this, we got all this. But then you look in the back and they're cooking the shit in vegetable oil. You can't, unless you're cooking your own food, you have no clue what's going in there. So first recommendation, get rid of it. Get rid of all vegetable oils in your house now. Coconut oil. That's it. There's nothing. Don't bring me the fucking grapeseed oil and peanut oil and all that crap. No, man. Coconut oil. Use coconut oil when you're cooking. So second thing is not eating enough protein. That is a huge mistake. Because let's take a look at kind of like, and when I talk about protein, I'm actually talking more animal protein. Right? People who have diabetes or pre-diabetic don't, and in general, we just don't eat enough protein from animals. Like Hong Kong, that's a country that has the highest meat consumption in the world. They also have the highest life expectancy. Listen, guys, don't listen to all the nonsense that they tell you about meat, and meat's gonna, and when I say they, I'm talking about your family members, your freaking people, your buddies, your, nonsense people online when they tell you, like people who are literally vegetarians and vegans because they're coming hard with this is what meat does to you. Hong Kong has the highest meat consumption. They also have the longest and highest life expectancy, 85 years old, sometimes even older. Here, 76. And I think for men, it's even less. France also has a very high consumption of animal fat. They also have the lowest rates of heart disease. In Argentina, if you live in Argentina, they have the highest meat consumption in South America, but they have one of the lowest rates of coronary heart disease. I'm just looking at some stats here. India, on the other hand, India has the lowest consumption of meat in the world. They also are one of the top countries for heart attacks. 1 in 4 citizens in India die of a heart attack. These are just stats. CDC, go on CDC, go on the CDC website, find it out. Like over the years, we've heard so many different things. Eating red meat's dangerous. Saturated fats cause heart disease. I've told you a million times, there's 2 types of saturated fats. Yes, there are some saturated fats that will definitely kill you. But there's good saturated fats that we need for good cholesterol. We're told eating red meat is dangerous. People still fucking talk shit like that. People literally still say that. Now, if there's a specific condition that you have, cool, but that's very slim. But everyone wants to jump on that, and it's all these other people talking shit. Red meat is good. We need it, right? Remember this one. You're gonna get high cholesterol if you eat eggs. Too many eggs, high cholesterol. That was huge. You guys remember that? Some people in the Brotherhood still ask that question. They still ask me the question. If we eat too many eggs, I heard it causes high cholesterol because it's still in the ether. And for us, when we grew up, that was a big thing. You remember they hit us with that all the time. No, it doesn't, man. I've talked about eggs being high on the BV scale, bioavailability scale of protein, right? Don't eat too much protein. But here's the thing. On the other side and your doctors, of course, just remember, guys, listen, big up to doctors. I'm telling you, I love family doctors very much, extremely. I love family doctors. They do a lot to help us stay healthy, to help treat things that we are having. So no disrespect to family doctors. I have family doctors in my family. I also say the same thing to them, what I'm saying to you. In fact, I say the same thing to my doctor. I would not say this I would say this to every single doctor that comes to me because I'm not afraid to tell the truth. Doctors aren't versed in, they are a jack of, they're a jack of all, they're a jack of many, master to none. Is that how it goes? Something like that. They know a little bit of everything, enough to treat and diagnose, but they don't, and a lot of times, specifically your doctor's a little bit older, they still hold on to the old school stuff that when they got their MD, and they still say the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm sure a lot of associations, societies don't help the issue. Your family doctor is not a nutritionist. Your family doctor is not a trainer, a fitness trainer. They're not specialists. So when they say stuff like that to you, you have to push back. Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. Why do I only have to eat 4 eggs? Tell me. What is it going to do to me? Show me the proof. Show me how that causes high cholesterol. Don't we need cholesterol? I thought we needed cholesterol for testosterone. Don't we need cholesterol for testosterone? Isn't eggs high on the BV scale of protein one of the best sources of protein? Oh, by the way, isn't the yolk in the eggs great for our brain health, specifically as we get older? And protein that we need for muscle. Don't we need muscle? Like, just you'll see it kind of like, oh yeah, okay, just watch. Then it turns into just watch your blood. Just watch your egg intake. Nah, man. So they tell you things like, butter is bad, right? Like grass-fed butter or butter's bad, meat's bad, fish is bad, all this stuff is bad. Meanwhile, they're going to sell you, and I'm not, this is not a conspiracy, tinfoil hat, but if you think about it, the same people that are telling you that meat is different, meat is unhealthy, eggs are unhealthy, all this stuff, the same people are telling you that and selling you products that are high in sugar, high in simple carbs, high in fructose corn syrup, high in like all of this stuff they're going to sell you is telling you that that's good. Like think about, like just look at the freaking stats of health. It's all there, man. It's all there. So protein, get your protein. Protein is very, very important. And the reason why is most Americans, most people don't eat enough protein. Remember at the beginning of this year, we had a challenge, and that challenge was to get enough protein in 1 gram per body part. Remember we had that challenge. If you were here at the beginning of the year, we had a challenge, and a lot of people found that they weren't eating enough protein, or it was difficult, right? So we had that challenge. It opened up a lot of eyes. Some of you guys were already crushing it, but we need to get more protein, right? Because the more meat you eat, the lower your blood sugar will be. Because there has been studies that show that eating more protein lowers your blood sugar spikes. Okay, so when you're because remember I said that there's carbs, proteins, and fats, and depending on what you eat will depend on how your blood sugar is affected. So protein is one of those macronutrients that helps to lower your blood sugar level, keeps it level. So the less protein you eat, the faster your health is going to decline, right? You're along with the whole muscle mass and everything else, your blood sugar levels aren't going to be stabilized. So to be able to stabilize your blood sugar level, again, this is more to people. I mean, if in general, but I'm talking, this is a diabetes talk. Eating meat, and again, the meat there's also the quality of meat, eggs, animal products will help you to stabilize your blood sugar. It's one of the strategies I use with my father. So that's number 2, not eating enough protein, specifically animal protein. Not saying your whole diet's animal protein. Okay? We're not going carnivore. But you hear everybody, protein, meat's not good, red meat's this, and a lot of times it's like, oh, whenever I eat red meat, this is what happens, or blah, blah, blah. But then if you ask the person, what else are you eating? Then they start talking about, well, then there's the donuts I eat in the morning, and then there's the pizza that I have a couple of times a week, then there's the beer that I drink. Like, it's all the other shit that they don't talk about. They just talk about the healthy thing, which to me doesn't make sense. But anyway, to me, that's like really weird. If you're eating an unhealthy lifestyle, you take the healthy thing and you shine a light on it. Yeah, every time I eat meat, this happens to me. I'm like, oh, what else are you eating, or what are you not eating? Do you eat starchy complex carbs? Do you eat healthy fats? Are you eating vegetables and fruits? No, not really. Do you eat shitty foods? Do you eat processed foods? Do you drink? Is it maybe all the other stuff that's going on in your life that's actually causing a lot of the things that are happening? So, protein. Eat protein. Eat more protein. If you weigh 180 pounds, then eat 180 grams of protein a day. And then the third mistake is eating carbs on their own, right? Like naked carbs. That's huge. So when you get a craving and you eat like grapes, let's say, right? Or your blood sugar level is gonna spike, right? So whenever you eat carbs by themselves, that sends a very big blood sugar spike, right? And that's because, as I mentioned before, proteins and fats slow down how quickly you absorb the sugar into your bloodstream. So if you eat carbs, you eat protein, you eat fats, and of course the vegetables and fruits will come with that. But just eating it on its own, that's what's going to spike it. But if you want to bring your A1C, your blood sugar levels, you want them at a healthy level, you don't eat less food. You just make sure that the foods that you're eating has either a protein. So your three main meals are going to have a balanced plate meal, right? Source of protein, source of fat, source of carbs, and vegetables and fruits, because they have the micronutrients. So those are the three meals. But you're going to have a couple of other meals, maybe a snack. You just have to make sure that snack has proteins and fats. So you could still eat a carb, but just make sure there's fats in there, or there's protein with it. Angela used to say this all the time. She used to say, make sure you eat a source of protein with everything you put in your mouth. Like, at every, so when we used to train in Muay Thai, it would be like, we would have, when I could eat Greek yogurt, like that was our pre-training thing. We had that like a half hour before, Greek yogurt with protein and like a pear, right? Because she would say, no, you can't just eat the pear. Just have like either some cheese or a bit of a protein with that pear, so that your blood sugar doesn't spike. It's just night. Because remember, before, like, again, this is when we were training, right? So this is a little bit different from us today when we're just doing workouts. A little bit different because the training usually goes for 2 hours, and you're training at a very high intensity. So you need that slow energy. You need the energy, the glucose to give you energy throughout. So you don't want it to spike quickly. So there's certain types of slow digesting carbs that are going to give you that energy. But if you just eat them naked, then blood sugar is going to spike. So you eat protein or fats with that carb as a snack. Okay. So never eat carbs on their own. That's number one. If you're going to snack at night or have like fruits, have a protein shake with it. Like for me, when I have my either watermelon at night or maybe berries at night, I have my protein shake. That's it. And don't eat them alone, and eat your carbs last. So that's the other thing we talked about, was eating your carbs last, right? So you start with the vegetables, you move on to the protein, you go to the healthy fats, and then you go to your carbs. Because again, it allows your blood sugar. It balances out the blood sugar because you're not spiking it right away with a carb. So 3, get rid of the yellow oils. Make sure that you eat protein. Get high quality meat, animal protein. And number 3, don't eat carbs by themselves. Making sure that, and then when you're eating, eat the carbs last. That's just in general for all of us, right? All of us, we should be eating our carbs last. All of us. Yeah, exactly. Eat carbs last. You know what? You're totally right. We do. Saul, you are 100% right. We need a shirt that says eat your carbs last. That's great. Okay. So let's talk now about how managing and some of the things that I did and how you can manage. And this, again, this is like, if you do have pre-diabetes or your type 2 diabetes, like you should be like latching onto this information. But if you just in general, this is great information because we don't want to go down that road. It's a very, as we get older, again, which is why we want to make this a lifestyle and not like kind of work out sometimes and don't work out. Sometimes eat healthy and not eat healthy. Like this thing is just really accelerating our chances of chronic health issues, specifically as we're getting older. It's not very difficult. It's just you have to have the discipline and you have to have that strong why to keep you on track. And the more you do it, the more you're going to build up the resistance to want to eat crappier foods. In fact, it's funny, my dad, now that he's eating healthier, is like, he said something to my mom about how the food tastes so good. And I'm like, we were just like, okay, because there's other factors, by the way, that I think led to the diabetes. We're not going to dive too deep into it, but there are other factors that led to it. In the lifestyle that he was doing, that led to this as well. But now he's tasting his food. It tastes great, and it's just when you start to eat healthier foods all the time, you're going to want more of that healthy food. It tastes great. Believe me, when you eat healthy, it tastes way better than the shit that's out there. Believe me. You program yourself to think that gravy on fries tastes good. It's disgusting. You know it and I know it, because 10 minutes after you eat it, you're like, oh, I feel like shit. That was disgusting. While you're eating it, but you know it. You know it. The after effects of the crappy foods that we say that are like health foods or that are comfort foods, you know they're not, man. Come on. Who are we fooling here? But in order to get over that hump, we gotta eat healthier all the time so that we can put more of a distance between, the thought of all of this McDonald's and all that crap being good and this stuff being bland. It's not bland. It's actually extremely delicious. I see Tulio's foods. I see Craig's foods. I see Filthy's foods. I see David Appleton's foods. I see them, man. So I'm like, my mouth's watering. Now, the first thing you need to do when it comes to managing diabetes, you got to count your calories for a week. You have to know how much food you're eating or not eating, right? Like that's you got to take the time to count your calories. Not all the time, just for 1 week. And you have to be true to yourself. You have to write down every single thing that touches your mouth in regards to food or drink. And if you're snacking, write it down. If you have a spoonful of peanut butter, write it down. If you lick the bottom of the spoon, write it down. If you drank a pop, write it down. Orange juice, write it down. Write down everything. Because we are oblivious to things that we put in our mouth. We are oblivious to the foods we eat. I know, because when I ask people, when people come to me and they say, I'm just, I need a little bit of help with my, trying to lose the belly fat here. Like that's the one that guys usually come up to me with, right? I try to lose the belly fat here, man. Okay, well, I eat pretty healthy. As soon as I hear pretty healthy, oh, that is a red flag. to, oh, you don't eat healthy at all. And eating pretty healthy, when I say it, doesn't mean like they're just eating shitty foods. Maybe they're eating some good foods, but they don't realize that, oh, no, but you're not eating carbs. Oh, no, but you're not eating healthy. You're not eating fats. Like, what's going on here? Oh, you're barely eating protein. So that's not necessarily always they're eating bad. But in general, when someone says I eat pretty healthy or kind of healthy or somewhat healthy, they're not eating healthy because they don't know. People mostly focus on the good foods that they're eating. Again, I'm just calling it as it is. I'm calling it as it is. That's as it is. Eating pretty healthy, then you just look at the good foods you eat and you totally disassociate yourself with the shitty foods because you're talking to a fitness person who you want to get help from, and you don't understand that you can't outtrain a bad diet. So it's the nutrition that we got to focus on first. Then we can worry about the workouts and getting rid of the belly. And getting rid of the belly fat is going to be the nutrition, the sleep, the stress management before the workouts. So writing everything down, counting the calories that you have will give you an idea. Oh, okay. This makes sense now. Okay, we've got things, because you don't know where to go unless you know where you are. Which is why I tell you guys, get your testosterone levels checked. Because you're not going to know, if you don't know your T levels, then how do you even know anything's working? But it doesn't matter what they are, at least you know where you are, and they're like, okay, this is where I need to go. Like when I got my toxin test, now I know. There's shit for me to do to get the toxins out. But I could have told him, I eat healthy, I work out, I'm really healthy. Look what I do. And he'd be like, oh yeah, okay. Let's do a test just to see. Nah, I probably think I'm pretty good. Nah, man, you have no clue. Data speaks volumes. Data speaks volumes. We don't go on emotion and feelings. Well, feelings are going to help us understand that something's wrong, but we don't go on emotions or, oh, I think, just check the ego at the door. Check your ego at the door, start getting your blood work, count calories for a week, and write down exactly what you put in if you honestly want to do something about it. And while you do all of this, you can curse me, you can moan, you can say my name in vain, you can grunt, you can do all of that stuff because it sucks. It sucks doing it. But once you get there, telling you, it's going to open your eyes to what's really going on, and then you can make the best decisions of your life. So number one, count the calories, write in a food journal to see what's really going on. No problem, Brendan, no problem. Number two, healthy carb choices, right? So focusing on, so here's the thing. So with the carbs for my father, right? Now, this is completely opposite of the brotherhood, but I give him brown rice. Brown rice is good. Okay, brown rice is good. Legumes, chickpeas, those things are good, right? Some things that are low on the glycemic index, good. So he eats, I feed him, he gets fed. I don't feed him. I prepare for him. My mom he feeds himself. But we prepare, because I go, remember I say I go and I prepare. I do a meal prep like we should be doing for ourselves. I do that for the crofter. And I cook the chicken, and then we put everything in a 7-day thing because he knows what he does for his breakfast. He'll either have eggs and, he has eggs and sardines and, I can't remember exactly what he has for his breakfast, but they have something laid out for his breakfast. Then we have his lunch, and so I make his lunch and his dinners. And then my mom gives him his snacks in between. So he eats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. But the healthy carb choices that we are using are brown rice. That's what I'm using, brown rice. For the grain, like for the vegetables and fruits are a no-brainer. Foods that are rich in fiber, right? So again, vegetables, fruits, specific whole grains, every meal. They need to be in there because fiber helps to slow the absorption of sugar, and it improves your blood sugar levels. So adding that in is great. I remember carbs will cause sugar fluctuations, but not all carbs do. That's why there's specific types of carbs that you need to eat. So good high fiber carbs that are good are things like beans, lentils, quinoa, buckwheat, the berry family. So he eats lots of berries. The carbs that you want to stay away from: pasta, white rice, breads, potatoes. He doesn't even eat any of those. Number 3, you want to make sure that you have healthy fats, right? Mostly monounsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats are the best, which you get in avocado, oily fish, nuts. Of course, you want to completely avoid trans fats, and you want to limit saturated fats. Remember, there's some good saturated fats, but you want to limit it. So you're going to find that in some meats. But trans fats, that's a given. Protein, that's key for us, right? Chicken is what we're going with right now. Organic chicken. I air fry that for him, right? But he eats sardines. He has sardines. He has chicken. He has beef. So, lean protein sources, beans sometimes, but protein again helps to regulate the sugar levels and also keeps you fuller longer. And then just portion control, right? So, smaller plates. This is, again, a little bit different from what we usually do because if we don't have type 2 or pre-diabetic, we eat 3 meals a day. But when you are like my father, who has diabetes his levels were high, you're eating more meals throughout the day so you can maintain your blood sugar levels. This is, again, when you have this, not to avoid it. We're talking about people who have this. You're going to eat 3 meals and maybe a snack or 2 throughout the day. And that snack or 2 better be a protein or a fat, or if it's like fruit, make sure you have a protein or a fat, maybe a piece of cheese with the fruit, but don't just eat the carbs alone. And when you skip meals, right, that can also lead to either a spike or a drop in your blood sugar. Of course, drinking a lot of water, like the crofter drinks a ton of water. You got to stay hydrated because this also helps to manage blood sugar levels. No alcohol, okay? And no sugary drinks. No orange juice. None of that shit. It's just water. That's it. So no sugary drinks, no orange juice and juices. I got to tell my mom, don't give him orange juice, man. Give him an orange, but don't give him orange juice. No juices, and zero alcohol. Zero. And then keep monitoring your blood sugar levels, right? Checking those levels. For us, it's the pinprick thing. The pinprick thing. Prick in the blood, and then it gives you the score. I have the scores. I'll post them at some point. Right? And keep a food diary. So my dad doesn't keep a food diary, but my mom and I together are working as a team. I go, I cook, get him to walk outside in the backyard because he can barely walk. He shuffles. So we got to but this is about nutrition, but that's generally it, right? You can take supplements like berberine. It's a really great supplement. It's a powerhouse, actually. It improves blood sugar control. And and there has been studies. I don't know how legit, but there were studies that show that berberine works better than metformin. So berberine. But it's not the prescription drug or the the supplement that's going to do the heavy lifting. It's the lifestyle that does the heavy lifting. Right? It's a complete change. And it's funny because my my mom's just like everything. My mom was like 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 the food's kind of like bland, I think, sometimes and stuff, right? Or something she said. Or like, you know what I mean? It's like, hey man, that's what happens, right? He got himself here. So you gotta, it's not like paying the price, but hey man, this is your new lifestyle, right? You gotta pay the piper. This is it. The new lifestyle is going to save your life, but this isn't going to be a walk in the park. This is going to be work, because this is where you got yourself, right? You don't look for people to get sympathy. Like 100%. You're not going to get sympathy from me, or you shouldn't be getting sympathy if you're pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetes, because of the lifestyle that you led to get you there. You gotta literally go, okay, I got myself here. I gotta put on my big boy pants and reverse this for my family. I can go out for my family, for my community. I mean, I can say that a million times, but what are we doing here? So if you are pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetes, or have type 2, you're in the right place. If you're in the brotherhood, you're in the 100% right place, because you have the workouts, the perfect workouts, because in our diabetes program, it's the metabolic workouts that you guys are doing. You have the nutrition, right? At least starting with 3 meals a day, eating foods, and then, maybe instead of having the white rice, you have brown rice, but you're having balanced plate meals. You have the support from the brothers right here. All of the guys in the brotherhood will support you and guide you through the phases. And you have testimonials here of people who have reversed their diabetes, who have their diabetes uncontrolled, who have decreased. And then, I'm living it right now. I went to the program that we created. I didn't go to somewhere else, some doctor or whatever. I went to the program that we created because I didn't create it to make money. I created it to help people. So that's why I went to it. And it works. 100% it works. But again, you got to make the decision. It all comes down to the decision. So hopefully with that, you've learned what to do, what not to do. You learned about blood sugar. You learned about why it is important for us to keep eating the way we eat. Why we got to keep eating the way we eat, and why we got to continue to further the distance between all of those crappy foods. Literally, that only happens from consistently eating the same, not exactly the same foods, but eating this way consistently. Limiting your guilt-free meal, and just, like, limit it. Like, if you're not where you're at, then I don't even think a guilt-free meal should be in your wheelhouse. I think the guilt-free meal comes when you're like where you're at, where okay, yeah, I know what's going on, and yes, I know I have a strategy after the guilt-free meal. I'll fast tomorrow, and then we'll move on and get back on it. But I think personally, it's just like we got to get ourselves into a very healthy state as much as possible. Some of us are dealing with injuries. Some of us are dealing with aches and pains. Some of us are dealing with, some chronic health issues that we need to deal with. And a lot of the guys have still low testosterone levels, which take time. But the more we stay consistent, the further away we get from wanting all of those foods. So with that, thank you guys.